morning, friends. I'm going to change this up, the volume. So we're going to see if this volume, which is about halfway up the volume scale, ends up working out for each of us in terms of being able to hear the sounds of this video. So I'm not going to be able to see myself currently because I'm going to another video which addresses ways in which we can potentially work with these shifts in reality, in the construct of life on a planet as a human being, and to look at things that may be working for a small group of people and not working for the majority of the people on the planet. So how can we make this transition from how things are or appear to be to how things may be able to be created, where life on the planet works for everyone and all life and the planet. So there's a book that you might be interested in. I haven't read the book yet. I haven't ordered the book yet. I may have one of my housemates order the book for me, because I'm of the old school where I went to a bookstore and picked up the book and paid for it at the bookstore, which may still be a possibility, but to get to a place that has a bookstore requires a $25 round trip on a ferry to just get to the mainland and get to, just go. I would have to go to some place I don't want to go. So I'm just going to read to you the 7 steps back and the 7 steps forward from the book Hospicing Modernity by Vanessa Andreotti. And you can watch this on YouTube. The thing I would say about Vanessa Andreotti is that she has an amazing mind and speaks at a speed that is incomprehensible for me to follow. So the way it needs to be for me, in the way that my brain works, is it needs to be at a speed that I can digest it as I'm listening to it. So I have her words in front of me, her list of the 7 steps back and the 7 steps forward or to the side, to allow the world to change. So it begins with us having an image of change that may be possible. So step number 1 is stepping back from one's self-image to decenter the ego and center the challenge. You can go back and listen to that again. And I'm reading it so I can go back and listen to it again so I can hear it at a speed that I can digest it as I'm listening. So step number 2 is stepping back from one's generational cohort to have a sense of how incoming generations may interpret and experience the challenges differently. Number 3 is stepping back from the universalization of one's social, cultural, economic parameters of normality. To understand one's privilege as a loss of perspective and sensibility. Number 4 is stepping back from the immediate context and time to see wider historical, structural, and systemic patterns. Step 5 is stepping back from normalized patterns of problem posing, problem solving, and relationship building. Stepping back from that. To tap what is already viable, but unimaginable, unintelligible in the mainstream. Number 6 is stepping back from the elevation of humanity above the rest of nature to consider our metabolic entanglement with the planet. Number 7 is stepping back from the impulse to find quick fixes. In order to expand our capacity, not to be immobilized by complexity, complicity, and uncertainty. Not to be immobilized by complexity, complicity, and uncertainty. Now I'm scaling forward. Okay. So now there are 7 steps forward or aside. And number 1 is stepping forward aside with honesty and courage to see what you don't want to see. Number 2 is stepping forward aside with humility to find strength in openness and vulnerability. Number 3 is stepping forward or aside with self-reflexivity. Self-reflexivity. so that you can read how you are being read and learn to read the room. Number 4 is stepping forward, aside, with self-discipline to do the work on yourself so that you don't become work for other people. Number 5 is stepping forward or aside with maturity to do what is needed rather than only what you want to do. Number 6 is stepping forward or aside with expanding discernment and attention, increasing care in proportion to risk. And number 7 is stepping forward aside with adaptability, flexibility, stamina, and resilience for the long haul. And be prepared to fall, to fail, to have your plans shattered, to be stretched, to change course, and to find joy in the struggle itself rather than in the imagined prize at the end. I am so grateful to Dr. Vanessa Andreotti for giving me these tools to think about and begin implementing into my life. I am so grateful to be encouraged to feel the discomfort that has been arising in me steadily over the past 28 years. To be encouraged to go to those places where I don't feel comfortable being. And to learn to breathe there. To learn to be present there. Not only in the dream world, but in this waking dream world. John Lennon wrote a song. He took no credit for any of the songs in the 2 albums he made prior to his assassination. And the 2 albums are called Elephant Memory, where he took a band in New York that he liked the way they played music and they could really vary it up. And he is given no credit on the album except for producing it with Yoko Ono. But if you listen to it carefully, you can hear that it's John singing every single song on both albums. And he talks about what has been done to him, how he's been hypnotized, crucified. I would have to look it up, Elephant's Memory, and just what was done to him and how he was making it through that in an attempt to keep giving this message of peace and love to the world for as long as he was here, which wasn't very long after the albums were made. So he made 2 albums about a year apart, and probably within the next year he was assassinated outside of his hotel room. I think it was called the Dakota, which is interesting because you might think about the assassinations of the Dakota and this, great feeling that I think it's Robert Pelletier, who was part of the American Indian movement, was pardoned by President Joe Biden. And you can have your opinions about Joe Biden and the people that he pardoned, Anthony Fauci and then Joe Biden's son, and then Pelletier. I think it's Robert Pelletier, but he was, I think, arrested in the 70s, and people have been trying to get him out of jail, and now he's ill, and now he has probably not too much life left to live, but he was a brilliant figure in pointing out the discrepancies in the treatment of various colored people. Let's leave it at that. Okay, here's some things to think about. I'm glad to share them with you. I'm glad for us to work on this together. We've got a lot of work to do, but relax in that, because what else are you going to be doing with your life if not changing and allowing the world to change by you changing? So blessings to you. I'm so glad you're in my life, and I hope you're glad that I'm in yours. And now can go change.